In this video, we're going to spend the day at the British Museum, and then we're going to explore the rest of the area and see what we can find. The British Museum is one of the most visited attractions, not only in London, but the whole UK. But if you just go to the museum and then head straight back home or to your hotel, you're missing a lot of great places in surrounding Bloomsbury and Holborn. So let's go to the museum and explore the area afterwards. Anyone who knows me is well aware that I like to start my day with a nice Brekkie and coffee, so I'm going to try the Salt and Pepper Cafe. From the food to the friendly staff to the prices, I heard a lot of good things about this place, so I thought I'd give it a try. I got an order of the eggs Blackstone, which I can already tell is going to be mouth-watering. I'm happy to say everything I heard about this place is accurate, the food is really good, and the coffee is excellent. The cafe is conveniently located right around the corner from the museum, so it's time to get on our way to see some treasures. Here we are. This is the country's first national museum, and it's free of admission. The museum itself is a grand example of Greek architecture with Ionic columns and sculpted pediments. This sculpture is called The Progress of Civilization, which is appropriate for a museum that's dedicated to telling the story of human history and culture. Okay, let's go inside. The museum was opened in 1753 and hosts almost 6 million visitors per year. There are 8 million permanent objects in 94 galleries, but the first thing you'll notice is the Great Court, which was opened in 2001. This is the central point of the museum linking the galleries. Its ceiling is made from over 1,600 unique panes of glass. It's an awesome sight, and it makes for a great juxtaposition of the classic Greek exterior. The museum's galleries house major collections representing ancient Egypt, the Middle East, Greece and Rome, plus Asia, the Americas, and of course Britain and Europe. In the Grand Hall, there's an unassuming door that you might walk right by. You'll be sorry if you do, because that's the entrance to the reading room. In the 1850s, the museum's keeper of printed books had the idea of building a room for his ever-growing collection on the museum's empty courtyard. The awesome dome was inspired by the Pantheon, and it's now considered one of the great sights in the museum. Don't miss it. As you might guess, in a museum with such a large collection, it can get a bit overwhelming as you visit room after room, viewing a seemingly endless number of exhibits. But every corner you turn, you see so many interesting things, you don't want to stop. But it is understandable if you only have a limited time for this attraction. This museum's collection is so large, it's just not plausible to come see it all in one day. So if you want to hit the highlights, I suggest you see these pieces. The Rosetta Stone is the most famous artifact in the British Museum. This is one of the most important archaeological discoveries in history. The carved text is in 3 different languages, which allowed for hieroglyphics to be deciphered for the first time. The priceless piece of history is worth visiting this museum alone, in my opinion. Next is the Elgin Marbles. These are Greek sculptures that appeared on the pediments of the Parthenon in Athens. Thomas Bruce, the 7th Earl of Elgin, brought the 5th century sculptures to Britain in the early 1800s. Some call the Elgin Marbles the purest example of sculpture that exists. Others call it just a mass of ruins. But you can't argue its cultural and historical significance. More on these in a moment. The Elgin Marbles and the Rosetta Stone are the 2 biggest pieces in the museum, but even if you're doing a whistle-stop tour, let me suggest some other pieces that you make sure you see before you go. a Moai statue from Easter Island, the Decobulus of Myron statue, I just call him Discus Guy, the Sutton Hoo helmet, which is an intricately decorated Anglo-Saxon helmet from 620 AD. They also have a reproduction of what it looked like when it was new. A piece of the beard from the Egyptian Sphinx, and the impressive Aztec double-head serpent, which is a rare wooden artifact adorned with 2,000 pieces of turquoise and seashells. When you visit the museum, make sure you book your ticket online. It's just advisable because it does get crowded and a ticket gives you a time to visit without waiting in line when you arrive. I spent about 4 hours here doing the video, and depending how much you want to see or how much time you spend in front of artifacts or in the shop or cafe, a visit can last anywhere from 2 to 6 hours. To be fair, I guess I should mention the controversy involved with this museum. There are 14 major pieces, including the Elgin Marbles and the Rosetta Stone, that are allegedly stolen or illegally obtained. I'm not here to take a side, but I will say that this museum takes incredibly good care of every piece in their collection. In addition, the number of people who are able to enjoy the historic collection far exceeds the number who would not if the artifacts were scattered around the world. With all that having been said, I do believe that if these pieces were stolen, at the very least there should be proper credit and compensation given to the countries of origin, even if they do stay here in the museum. Whatever the right answer is, I'm just glad that these treasures are in a place that they can be widely viewed and enjoyed. Well, you can't deny it, the museum is very impressive, but there's a lot in Bloomsbury and Holborn that we can still explore, so let's go check it out. Though we're not exactly in the heart of town, we're still definitely in town, so you can expect to see plenty of pubs, cafes, and attractions. If you're not museumed out, then you'll find several other quirky ones in the area, like the Camera Museum behind me. And there's also the Charles Dickens Museum and the John Sloan Museum. And don't forget the Hunterian Museum, which is a museum of surgery featuring pathology specimens and some ominous-looking surgical instruments. In the spring, summer, and early autumn, London's weather is pretty nice, so you're not going to want to spend all your time indoors, especially in this part of town. There are a lot of pocket parks and public squares in the area, including here at Russell Square, which is very popular with students because it's next to the main buildings of the University of London. There's also Bloomsbury Square Gardens, which is a little bit more hidden away, and historic Lincoln's Inn Fields. Any one of those parks is a great place to take a break. I chose Lincoln's Inn Field to enjoy my iced coffee on this rare London sunny day. I'm happy to say that at least this year, those sunny days aren't so rare. Which is a good thing when you're in Bloomsbury and Holborn, a section of town with no shortage of cafes. And speaking of food, I cannot fail to mention one place in particular. I've had several incredible dining experiences in London, but one of the greatest was here at the Pie Room at the Rosewood Hotel. It's no secret that pastry pies are one of London's great comfort foods. You can get a great pie anywhere, from your local pub to the supermarket, but I don't think you'll get anything like the one you'll get here. This high-end experience delivers on ambiance, service, and great food. Whether you live here or you're visiting London, you will not regret dining at the Pie Room. We've made it back near Holborn Station, so of course we're going to make a stop at my favorite Holborn pub. This is the Ship Tavern. It's hidden away in a little narrow alleyway, so it kind of makes it feel like you're in on something that not a whole lot of people know about. Oh, I can see the comments now. Everybody knows about this place. Okay, fair enough. But they should, because it's so great. The historic tavern has been around since 1549, and it has all those fantastic features that I keep talking about that makes the Ship Tavern a prototypical English pub experience. Low ceilings, dark wood, shiny brass, and some terrific craft brews. Hey, this is Zoe. Zoe, what pint should I try today?
So I think you should go for the Old Peculiar. It is our darkest ale and our strongest ale, and you don't really find it much places in London. So.
All right, let's go for it.
Yeah.
Indeed, a fine suggestion, Zoe. And a perfect way to end my day at the museum and more. Thank you for watching, and whether you're from London or from out of town, I sincerely hope you're getting something out of my videos. If you are, please subscribe, check out the other videos, and enjoy the London experience with me. Cheers.